Okay, everybody. Good morning. How are you all doing? I decided to make this video letter because, my life has gotten very complicated and I don't feel those short Facebook posts really bring across what's going on with me now. So I thought I'd write an open letter to my family and friends in the form of a YouTube video. And for anybody else who just happens to be interested in the particular situation I got myself mixed up in. It's a long story, it's a kind of funny story, and I guess we'll start with the beginning. I really thought about making this video because of a point that was really made clear to me by my niece. Now, my niece made this post about spirit animals. Now, a lot of my family may not know that I happen to practice a lot of shamanistic beliefs, and one of my crazy religious beliefs is I got a spirit animal. And when she made this post that said, don't talk about your spirit animal, well, we got into a discussion about it, and in the post, she made a point that she was just, I believe, I don't want to misquote it, but they basically came down to, look, I'm just looking out for my people. And I have to admit, that really kind of, yeah, because, she's looking after her people, but I'm her uncle, so who the fuck am I? And that was the point, wasn't it? Who the fuck am I? I've been living here for quite a long time now, and I haven't really been a good person for being in contact, I have to be honest. So I thought that as part of the way of staying in touch and letting people, look at me and see my face and know that I'm alive and okay, I'd make this video and get out there. So what's been happening with me? Well, you're all aware of the drama that I seem to be involved in. Now, for those of you who don't know, in Holland here, I've been getting by for quite a few years by being part of what they call the squatting movement. And squatting is basically where you find an old, unused property, invade it, essentially, and live there in a gray area of Dutch law that was existing back in time. Now, having gone through the squatting scene here, I went from different squats. I started squats myself. So I've been part of some famous squatting maneuvers here in the city. And I eventually, because the squatting laws here in Holland got changed and squatting's not really a gray area anymore, it's becoming more and more a no-go area, I ended up living at a place, well, it's called ADM. And ADM is a big commune of creative thinkers and artists and social political idealists. And they had a huge terrain. And as part of the terrain, they had a front gate and a fence. And then springing up in front of that fence was a second community living in caravans. Now I ended up in this community and I called it the last seat because, finding new squats is getting harder and the quality of life involved in it is getting less and less people are getting interested. So it seems to be a lifestyle that's on its way out. Now, because the squat has been around for so many years and represents a community, it means that in the eviction of that squat, there are certain laws that have to be obeyed. Now, because the squatting laws here, when there was squatting allowed, were actually very compliant with those in the Bill of Human Rights, there was never any question. One of the points that we have about squatting from our side is, hey, you cannot evict people in the middle of winter, as it says in the Human Rights Declaration of Evictions. So when they told us that they were going to evict, and knowing that I had been here so long and knowing that I wasn't legal, and the only play I had was to fall back and ask, hey, what about my human rights? Now, in Dutch, you have something called Zijnwijs. I'm not really sure if that's the correct way to put it, but it's basically where you complain about the legal doings of the Dutch government, or in this case, the city Amsterdam, the gemeente Amsterdam. Now, when I wrote in my Zijnwijs, I was speaking for our little group that was sitting outside the fence. We were called The Village. And I wrote in asking about, hey, what about our human rights? I know that we have many rights as dictated by the Declaration of Human Rights, which I believe, I don't know, but well, I believe Holland was one of the first countries to sign that pact. I said one of the first, and I also said I don't really know, but be that as they may, their name still is on that document. And that document has quite a number of rules and conditions that have to be met when evicting a community, such as the people in the ADM or our group out in the village, because we had been there so long. Now, a lot of these compensations for being evicted actually play out well for me. It means that I can become a legal person here. It means that I can get into a what they call an upgrade of lifestyle, however that will play out. There are other rights. I mean, here's the thing, I'm just doing this whole thing off the top of my head, and I'm trying to stay factual and neutral, and I can't really reference anything, because if I reference anything I have to use my iPad, and so anyways, I'm just going off the top of my head. But back to the point about, where was I? About human rights and conditions that would be good for me, so I am deciding to take them. Now, what happened with the ADM is, as I understand it, the place that they're being sent to is not a nice place to be. That apparently, from what I've heard, it's basically a large puddle of mud that covers something like 4 football fields. And the people inside the ADM are arguing that that field does not meet up to the improvement of lifestyle, which they're guaranteed in the Charter of Human Rights under eviction. Whew, that's a lot. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't been evicted, because quite obviously we have. It's just the manner in which we're being evicted. Now, this has a lot of people living inside the ADM nervous, and making them more nervous was the deconstruction of all the caravans outside the gate. Now, here I'd like to point out that the gemeente Amsterdam was very patient with myself and a very good friend of mine named Yuri. They held off on destroying our caravans for as long as they could. As a matter of fact, as of this recording, the caravans in question still sat. But because Yuri and I were out there when this story about the ADM broke out, that there might be some human rights concerns involved, I chose to write the lawyer telling her about Yuri and myself still being outside the gate, and that I have been asking for my human rights from the very beginning, and nobody that I've had contact with really seemed to have an idea of how to deal with that. I mean, I don't want to accuse the Amsterdam Gemeente of any human rights violations because at the moment nobody's rights have really been violated. There are some questions, and if we continue down this path of the eviction as the city has it planned out, there certainly will be a few. But at the moment, nobody's rights have been violated yet. Now, here's the thing is that myself, I need just a little bit more time. While I have been told that I can be made legal here and that there are things to do, by the time I had that information and really understood what was being asked of me, a lot of events happened. For example, my neighbor Luke died. And Yuri and I, because of the human rights issues and because of housing issues, were invited inside the gate of the ADM. Now, this doesn't mean that we're part of the ADM community. ADM and ourselves, meaning Yuri and I, are both of the agreement that we are allies, but still two separate, independent bodies. I mean, I don't really want to give up my status of being an independent person rather than being, how to put it, I just like to be me. And I admit I'm not really part of their community, and it's going to take their community a long time before they get to know me and get to decide if they want me to be part of it. And so, the situation as it stands is that, they're giving us, Yuri and myself, a place to put our caravans for the moment that is outside the zone to be cleaned up at the moment, which is our old caravans. But of course, in these situations, a lot of rumors are going around. For example, one rumor is that they will be sending stronger responses starting tomorrow, Monday. Oh God, would have helped if I had looked at the dates before I made this. But let's see, I think today is the 4th, so Monday the 5th to Monday the 7th, because I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to look at dates. I mean, I even lost a day this week because I was so busy with all the things I was doing and running around with to make the move happen, to put Luke, to help bury Luke, and to just the crazy things that are going on, and then the eviction. So I think that pretty much brings you up to date with where I am. So I'm inside the fence and I'm doing safe and I'm doing fine. As you can see, I'm here in my friend Niels' house. I'm with his cat Tigger, and I'm talking to you. Now look, I do have something to ask. If you want to support us, whether you're a member of my family, you're one of my friends, or you're just a stranger who happens across this video and thinks, yeah man, human rights, this is pretty cool, then look, you can do me a favor, show some support. And the support that you can show is by sending a link of the copy, a link to the city of Amsterdam, the Gemeente Amsterdam, and the link would be to the eviction rights as dictated in the Bill of Human Rights. Yeah, that came out complicated, but basically you just post them a link taking them to the page that dictates all of our human rights for being evicted as a community. If the Gemeente Amsterdam sees that the world's watching, it might slow down the eviction, it might give them chances to cover some oversights, and it'll give me time to meet the conditions that are going to be asked of me to claim the rights that I am asking for under these circumstances. Again, all very complicated. Whew. But other than that, I will be posting updates. I will be posting short films showing you what's been happening and giving you much more detailed information. I want you guys to know that I miss you. I think about you a lot. And that, yeah, how to say it, that I'll keep on going no matter what happens. Have a good day, eh?